Oh, hello everybody. Danny Rufo coming at you. This time I'm on location in my old neighborhood. We're coming to you from my old grade school, St. Anthony of Padua grade school, here on Ninth and, what is this? 9th and Scott Street in Wilmington, Delaware, right in the heart of Delaware. Wilmington, Delaware's Little Italy. I thought I'd come back to the old neighborhood to do the show tonight. This is part one of a three-part series on Italians in Delaware. So the first part, I thought I'd make it a little bit light, a little bit more fun. Tonight we're going to talk about nicknames. A couple people on Facebook were asking me about this, telling me I should do this topic, sent me some examples. So tonight we're going to talk about some of the nicknames that people had for each other here in the old neighborhood. Part two, we'll focus on the history of Italians coming to Delaware, the early arrivals. We'll talk about the push-pull factors that brought many of the immigrants to our shores. We'll even talk a little bit of Italian history there. So that'll be part two. And then part three, I'll come back to the neighborhood, and we'll talk more specifically about St. Anthony's, the school, the church, the other buildings around here that played such a significant role in the lives of Italian Americans in Wilmington, Delaware. So, part one tonight is the nicknames. We'll have a little fun with this. I got lots of lists here. I'll just kind of run through them. I got these. I should also mention my name is Danny. That's my nickname. My brother gave me that when I was born. There's 3 Donatos in my family. The oldest one went with Donato. The second one went with Donnie. And then my brother called me Danny. So everybody in my family has always called me Danny, Danny Rufo. My other nickname is Roof. Everybody calls me Roof. So that's where that comes from. So let me talk about my good friend Gia Peak. My Facebook buddy, Gia, sent me a nice list. These are some of the nicknames that she remembers from some of the people in this neighborhood. There was Big Pat. There was Wiggles. There was Chisel. He stole somebody's chisel once, and that was it. They called him Chisel. There was Cowboy. He had a big hat. He used to walk around. They called him Cowboy. Mooney. Once you moon someone, that could be a nickname for life. So there was Mooney. There was a guy named Washing Machine Gene. He would walk around and offer to fix your washing machine for you. There was Dick Tracy because he wore a long coat all the time. There was Louie the Butcher. You can imagine his profession. One of the very few women entries in here, a lady named Bench Legs. A woman named Bench Legs. That was her nickname, okay? There was somebody named Chocolate. She remembers a Joe Cadillac. And then she also knew a very good pool player named Cue Ball. So those are some very good ones from Gia. Thank you, Gia. Very, very good example there of some of the neighborhood nicknames. My buddy Mark Simeone checked in. He had a couple nice ones from his family. There was a guy named Wahoo, right? There was a guy named Shiner. And then Chut, all right? Chut. Nice and short. Boom. So those are some of his memories. A friend of mine, Maria Rapucci, checked in with her mom as well, and they came up with a few. They knew a guy named Motzi. They know a guy named Joe, and then they remember a guy named Meats. All right, so those are some good ones from Maria. Thank you, Maria. Linda Finney, my mother-in-law, chimed in. She had a few that she remembered as well. She also had her own little nickname, I found out. When she was in high school, her maiden name was Vitri. They called her Peachy. So, Linda, these are the ones you sent me. Gooch, a guy named Gooch. There was a guy named Jabber. Now, Jabber lived right on the corner. I can see his house. So, Jabber, I remember. There was a guy named Curly, Whitewash, Whoopie, Blackie, Sonny, Pineapple, Choo Choo, who I knew very well, Moose, Bugsy, Shorty, Duke, Peanuts, and Mousy. Those were some of the ones that my mother-in-law remembered. And then I called my dad's buddy. My dad had a friend named Big Al, Alex Talmo. We all called him Big Al. He called my brother, my big brother Larry was the big one, and he called me the little one. All right, so I grew up with Big Al. So I gave him a call. I said, Al, you remember any of these nicknames? He gave me quite a list. Big Al came up big tonight. So this is a list from Big Al. He remembers Bubbles. I remember Bubbles well. God bless. Laz, Butterball, The Luge, Scrooge, Spiegel, T-Butts, Dilly, Scrounge, Lucky JT, Skeeter. He remembers a guy named Haha, Joe Grass, Johnny Black, Leaky Pete. He was a plumber, by the way. Flea Brain, Doorknob, Pretty Boy, Quack, Tramp, and Miserable Dan. So that was a nice list from Big Al. Thank you, my buddy. Big Al, good friend of my dad's. My dad had a nickname. He brought his over from Italy. His nickname was Zot. The way he got that, when he was 12, 13 years old, he was dating my mom back in the village of San Donato. And apparently there was a guy, a little older guy, who tried to sneak a smooch, try to get a kiss from my mother. And my mother said, no, 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 and then went and told my dad. My dad didn't take that real well. He went and found the guy, beat the hell out of him, from what I understand. Beat him up so well that the police, the Carbonari, were called in. So a guy named Gerardo Casali, who would later become my uncle through marriage, he had to take my dad up into the mountains, go hide him for a couple of days so things settled down. All the village people got together to the cop and said, listen, he didn't do anything wrong. This guy knew that he was with her. He shouldn't be fooling around with her. He's a dirty old man, and blah, blah, blah. And my dad never got in any trouble, but he got the nickname Zot because in the dialect from my little village, got salt to hit. Got you not got salt. I'm going to give you a smack. I'm going to give you a hit. So his nickname became Zot. And I remember people calling him that, Zot, 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 when he would walk around. He was a good guy, my dad. He also would give nicknames to people he didn't know. If he didn't know who you were, he called everybody Jimmy. Jimmy was his thing. If he didn't know you, you were Jimmy. That happened at gas stations all the time. I thought everybody that worked at a gas station was named Jimmy. Because my dad would go up and say, give me $10 high test, Jimmy. Fill her up, Jimmy. I thought everybody named Jimmy. So that was one of the things my dad did. He also, if he didn't know what something was called, he'd call it Chinese whatever. Pomegranate, for instance. I came home once, I see this red thing sliced open with these little red things inside. I was a kid. I said, Dad, what is this? He said, it's a Chinese apple. I lived my whole life, I thought this thing was a Chinese apple. Now it's a pomegranate. Everybody's going crazy. Pomegranate juice, it's very good for you, blah, blah, blah. I had these things on my kitchen table 30 years ago, but they were Chinese apples. So that's a nice memory of mine. This was a great neighborhood growing up, right? This little Italy section here. Everything you needed was within walking distance. There were corner stores about 2 blocks that way. There was a guy named Booby's grocery store. You go in there, get bread, milk, candy. Down the street, there was a the Union Street News, little corner store. You go in there, magazine, comic books. There were 2 bakeries. There was DeFonso Bakery over there on the corner. And right down the street here, there was Huber's Sunbeam Bakery. There were days when you would walk around here and it would smell like bread. What a great memory. Water Ice, sub shops. There was a place called Olga Marconi's. My mom still says she can't find a girdle anywhere since Olga was gone. She'd go there, buy girdles, bras. It's where I used to buy my Keds and my Converse back in the old days when those were the only sneakers you could get. So everything you needed was here. I thought every Italian in Delaware lived here. When I got into high school and I met my first Italian from someplace other than here, like some Newark or something, I was shocked. I said, where do you live? How the hell did you get out there? I thought all the Italians lived here. So I was a little naive. But this was my little universe here. Everything I needed was here. We walked around. We rode our bikes. This was a great neighborhood growing up. And the school behind me, I spent 8 years here. Good school, nice church. And I'll talk more about this parish, that building, the other buildings around here that were very important to this Italian-American group that settled here in western Wilmington. So, with that, let me say good night to you. I hope you have a great evening. Watch out for my other Italian shows coming up in the next, within the week and a half. I'll have those 2 shows ready to go. And I got some more things in the bullpen. I got other stuff coming. People have been sending me some great ideas and stuff I've been working on, a little bit here, a little bit there, putting it together. So we'll get together again next time. We'll share some more memories. If you've got some good old nicknames from the old neighborhoods, put them on the comments. Share them with me. Let me know what you remember, the old nicknames from the people that you remember growing up. All right, so Danny Rufo coming at you from Wilmington, Delaware, Little Italy, 9th Street. Have a great night. Take it easy, and I'll see everybody next time, okay? And now we got to shut her off. Good night, baby. Bye-bye.